Thank you. We're here for the purposes of the annual meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the annual meeting to order, please. And for those who are able, let's rise, remove cover, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For the annual meeting, we will be seeking a nomination for chairperson to preside over the annual meeting. At this time, I'd like to call for nomination of chairperson to preside over the annual meeting.
I'd make a motion that Brian Giese serve as our annual meeting chairperson.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Second by Mr. Sprain. Do we want to do any other motions
Are
before?
there any other nominations?
Yeah. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? For the third and final time, are there any other nominations? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Our current board clerk, Pat Rashevsky, will serve as the clerk of the annual meeting according to state statute 120.10. We need to dispense of the 2018 annual meeting minutes. I need a motion to approve and dispense with the reading of the minutes of the October 16th, 2018 annual meeting.
Second.
We have a first and a second.
Throw me in wherever.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. At this time, we will now ask Terry to give us a report on the state of the district.
All
Mr.
right.
Whitmore.
Thank you. So I have a letter prepared, but I just wanted to say on the front end that this annual meeting gives us an opportunity as a district to celebrate and share some of the great things that have happened, and then also talk about this coming year's budget that we're already in, and then talk about some of the concerns that we have moving forward. So I'm going to read the letter to the community. Dear Nekoosa District community members, the title of my notes are Meeting Today's, Tomorrow's Student Needs and Planning for a Fiscally Sustainable Future. For several years, the Nekoosa Board of Education, the staff, and our leadership team have focused on improvement for all students, and this letter can be found in your little booklet. So we've been focused on the improvement for all students. As with any change effort, change occurs incrementally over time. I am proud to lead this great district and report to you both our areas of growth as well as our areas of challenge. We are proud that our district exceeds expectations on Wisconsin's report card in 18-19, that was last school year. We look forward to continuing this positive trend going forward. Our WISE Academy, the online school, has exploded in enrollment. We surged from 98 students during the 18-19 school year to 148 students in this current school year, and that is our virtual school that serves kids from around the state. To keep us focused on continual improvement, the Nekoosa Strategic Plan has three main focuses: high leverage instructional strategies, social-emotional learning, and social justice and inclusion. What have we achieved? All teaching staff are receiving professional development aligned to student needs, especially but not limited to literacy, math, and science. We are effectively using data to help teachers decide how to best help individual students grow. All teaching staff have been trained in trauma-sensitive schools. When a child experiences trauma, it affects their learning and their behavior. Becoming trauma-sensitive means teachers learn effective strategies to recognize and de-escalate situations. We are implementing as a district many different strategies to build ownership by the students of our schools, engaging them in proactive and positive activities to help them feel a sense of belonging and safety, which in turn creates a more safe, productive school. Across the district for language arts instruction, we have implemented the Readers Writers Workshop approach, which is designed to deliver an equitable curriculum for all students. Special education and regular education staff are working more closely together to design a more cohesive education for all learners. Inclusion activities recognize that there is strength and beauty in our diversity. Nekoosa High School has continued to partner with Mid-State Technical College to expand opportunities for Nekoosa High School students to earn college credit while in high school. By the numbers for the 18-19 school year, we had 123 students enrolled in dual credit courses. We had 364 credits earned by high school students, and the tuition that our students will be saving as they pursue their secondary educations is $53,900. Nekoosa High School continues to challenge students to take advanced placement course offerings while in high school. These offerings have increased and more students have access to the rigors of college level coursework. By taking the advanced placement exams, students also have the potential to earn college level credits. By the numbers, in 16-17 we had 27 students take AP courses. 17-18 we had 25, and last year during the 18-19 school year we had 84 students taking AP courses. So, facing our next challenge, planning for a fiscally sustainable future. Since 2010, the amount of revenue the district is able to receive in property taxes and state aid has decreased by over $1 million. For the past 4 years, the district's expenses have exceeded revenues. The board, with reluctance, has used fund balance to avoid cutting programs. We continually examine operations to find efficiencies such as employee benefits, bus routes, and food service. We have also adjusted professional staff salaries to remain competitive. The labor market for teachers is highly competitive, and we need to continue to attract and retain the best teachers for our students. We have also focused on continuous improvement for student learning. We've identified a cost of $1.8 million to replace our track, which is no longer usable, which includes improving drainage as well as associated infrastructure at the high school. We've also identified necessary student supports and program improvements to prepare students for today's careers and post-secondary options. So we do have unmet needs as a district. For the first time in several years, the 19-20 budget maintains last year's level of staff and programs. Our revenue is controlled by the state's revenue limit. We cannot repair the track or further invest in educational programming that keeps our students on par with what they need for their future success. We are taking a proactive approach in examining the options on how to balance our student needs with the community's priorities in years to come. You will be receiving a survey soon. That survey will ask you for input on several issues we are facing as a district. Your input will guide the Board of Education's decision. Please expect the survey during November, as we intend then to examine the results to prepare a proposal for April 2020. Thank you for your support of the Nekoosa School District. Sincerely, Mr. Whitmore. Any questions on that?
Thank you very much, Mr.
You
Whitmore.
bet.
Some things to be very excited about in there, and there are some unmet needs, and I think we'll touch on those again here in just a little bit. I think we're prepared to move on to Ms. Lynn Knight. This is going to be the Treasury Report and hearing of the 2019-2020 budget.
Just waiting for my screen to come up.
Could I just share then,
Yes.
what you have in front of you? You actually have a colored version. This is the updated strategic plan for this current school year. So what you'll find in here, each school inside has gone through and updated, and actually also on the back side you'll see some of the accomplishments that we need to celebrate from the last school year. So this really highlights the great work that's happening in our schools, and then also really ask for celebration in some of the work that's been completed at school, so.
Just keep talking.
I'm done, Mrs. Knight, it's your turn.
Yeah. You love technology, but sometimes.
I know.
I think I saw a commercial on TV.
It's great when it works. It's gonna work.
It's spooky.
Really? Really want to.
Okay.
That toggle, or that little device, but
So do
you had to do something.
Yeah. Send it to me.
Well, does anybody want to talk, the principals, about anything in our strategic plan that you think the board could? Yes, you certainly will have a chance to look at it, but while we're waiting. Looks like, you want to say something, Keith?
About the
No?
strategic plan?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
or not really?
No, really, yeah.
Okay.
If you want to.
Give me 2 seconds, I'll have it up and going for you. It's working all day today.
Of course, when I need it. Okay, so I'll start with the treasurer's report from 2018-19. That's going to be on page 6. I'm not going to go through it line by line. So I'm just going to let you review it at your leisure. Just know that in 2018-19, we were in the red by $1,292 in fund time. So I'll move on to our presentation. There we go. Thank you, Brian. So this is the October 22nd annual meeting, 2019-20. I just thought that was so cute.
Those are 2 hunky kids, right? Playing with my Liz training.
Okay, Brian. So with some input from Mr. Geezy, I eliminated the revenue limit worksheet from my presentation. So it is in your packet on page, let me see if I can figure it out, on page 13. So just so you know that the revenue limit worksheet basically gives the district authority to receive revenue from property taxes and from state aid, and it basically puts a cap on how much revenue you can receive. There are 3 main variables to that worksheet. There's FTEs, equalized value, and state aid, and you can see the change between 18-19 and 19-20. We're going to go through each one of those in detail and see what the history of those items are. So this is our full-time equivalency. These are students that we actually receive funding on, and you can see for the past 9 years, we have steadily declined. In the past 3 years, the decline has not been so steep, so we are starting to, kind of even out a little bit. But that it's a pretty shocking visual, I guess is what I can say. The next visual is our equalized value. Again, another shocking graph because it looks almost like a U. I was researching our equalized value. It went up over 6%, which is unbelievable. So our equalized value is the property value of our school district. And when you have a levy, the amount of value, or you give the levy to the value of the land. So let's say Mr. Whitmore has $100,000 worth of value, and Mr. Geezy has $200,000. Mr. Geezy would get levied on $200,000 of value, where Mr. Whitmore would be $100,000 of value. So as the equalized value goes up, the amount of levy allocated to each individual household gets lower because there's more money or there's more value that's spread out. So I estimated a 3% increase in equalized value and it doubled. So it was my best guess, and the Department of Revenue actually releases those figures on October 1st. Okay. The state aid, though, this one's interesting because that is all over the board. And back in 2011 is when Governor Doyle ceased taking office and Governor Walker actually took office. And it's pretty evident in the 12-13, 13-14, and 14-15, where our state aid skyrocketed. And as Governor Walker remained in office, it declined a bit, but not so drastic. And I think the legislator had a lot to do with that. And then in 1920, lo and behold, Governor Evers came on board, and we got more state aid. This is all politically driven. So how you can predict state aid is beyond me. So it's a very political statement for every governor that takes office. So once we figure out how much revenue we receive in property taxes and state aid, and that's driven by our revenue limit worksheet, then we can look at our expenses. And our expenses for our operating funds, which is Fund 10 and 27, is illustrated on the screen. The salaries and benefits represent about 66% of our operating budget. Now, that is a little low because typically it's between maybe 70-72%, but with our declining enrollment and our FTEs, it does make sense that we have 66% of our budget is salaries and benefits. We also have non-capital, capital objects, debt, insurance, and other. So our total operating budget is $16,081,492. So this is a slide that just shows you our operating expenditures in basically a pie graph form. So you can see the amount the blue area represent our salaries and benefits, which is the bulk of our expenses. This is our revenue. So we receive revenue from local, interdistrict, intermediate, state, federal, and other. Now the blue represents our local funding, which is our property taxes, and the purple represents our state. When they talk about 2/3 funding at the state level, our graph should look mostly purple and a portion of it blue, but we're the exact opposite. We are more than 2/3 funded, or more than half funded by the local taxpayers, and it looks like only 1/3 funded by the state. So when they talk about 2/3 funding, they're not talking about Nekoosa. So here's the budget by fund. We actually budget for general fund, special education, debt service, food service, and community service fund. And it just lists the revenues and expenditures of each. We're projecting a $218,331 deficit for our general fund next year. We actually levy for 3 funds. We levy for our general fund, our debt service, and our community service fund. Our total levy is $11,114,630 with a corresponding mill rate of $10.13. And we're going to take a look at the history of our levy and our mill rate in our next couple of slides. Okay, so this is our mill rate. This year we're projecting a $10.13 mill rate per thousand. Last year we were at $10.55. We are levying more, but our mill rate is lower because of our increased equalized value. Now, if our equalized value decreased by 6%, our mill rate would probably be close to $10.80. So our equalized value increase, really helps our school district. It helps the taxpayers, really. Our mill rate is at 11 million, and it's a less than a 2% increase from last year. So even though we, like I said, even though we have more levy, which is only a less than 2% increase, the mill rate has decreased because of our equalized value. The auditors also like business managers to talk about community service fund. They want to make sure the community understands the community service fund and what they're paying for our school district. So we always include it as part of the annual meeting. So as part of the school district of Nekoosa strategic plan, which the board has created, one of the goals is to increase parent community involvement. And our community service fund allows us to do that. The next slide tells you exactly what we are paying for, what the taxpayers are paying for in the community service fund. And it's heavily audited every single year. So what we say we are spending in our Fund 80 fund is actually what we're spending out of Fund 80. And that's my presentation, so if you have any questions.
Did you miss putting your revenue worksheet?
Well, I had to play with it, so yes, I did.
There's a lot of work that, Lynn, thank you very much
Yep.
for that presentation. Over the last several weeks, we've spent a lot of hours going over the numbers and talking, you know, as a board about, you know, how we're going to move towards the future. Any questions for Lynn based on her presentation? And what she's- Good job.
Thank you.
Fantastic job. In Terry's message, he alluded to some of the issues that we as a district have needs for. And I'd like to, first of all, recognize the amount of body of work that's been done by our administrative staff, by our teachers, at being fiscally responsible and looking at, you know, how we can spend the dollars that we have most effectively. Recognizing that if there are unmet needs, that currently we lack the funding for. One of the discussions had to do with, you know, what do we do as a board? And we at this time would like to present a resolution from the Board of Education. With that in mind, I'd like to just kind of let the individual board members talk about a little bit about some of the things that they feel strongly about, and then close up with the reading of the resolution. Anybody, do we want to start left to right? Where do you want to start? Cody, you're up.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So for me, the biggest thing regarding the resolution is athletic improvements. 60% or a little bit more of 60% of our student body is actually in athletics or is an athlete. And right now our track can't currently hold any track meets. You can barely even practice on it. And that's a big concern to me because athletics give students another chance to excel at something. And long story short, if it wasn't for my full ride track scholarship, I probably never would have been able to go to college. So, you know, I'm asking for the community support and everybody's support to help, you know, push the referendum through to help support the track and the athletes in our district. There is a big need there. We can also generate revenue through conference, sectionals, regionals, events like that. It'll help give back to our district and community. It'll also help our athletes excel in that. And I think we just owe it to our athletes. And like I said, I really would appreciate everyone's support in pushing that forward so we can give our community some events to look at, along with helping our athletes and student body grow in regards to sports and athletics. So that's all I gotta say in terms of that.
Thank you, Cody.
As part of our operational portion of our referendum that we want to present to the community, there are a few basic needs that we have to have in order to keep up with the strategic plan that we put together. Some of those things are a virtual instructor. You heard before that our virtual school has really exploded, and so we're shorthanded in our virtual area. We need a district social worker. We need K-5 math interventionist, an elementary school behavioral interventionist, technical education instructor. We've had only one tech ed teacher in the high school for several years. This year we were shorthanded. We finally do have an instructor coming on the 1st of November. We haven't had a tech ed person in the middle school for a long while. And we really need that to happen because all of the businesses in the area that are technical businesses are encouraging us to teach more tech ed in our schools. So we're looking for a tech ed instructor to be added. And we also need a family and consumer science instructor, among other needs in our school district.
Thank you.
I'd like to, go with what Cody said. Last 2 years, I've been involved with the softball program. First at the high school level, just kind of being a volunteer assistant, and then last year coaching the 7th grade girls softball team. And the facilities there, they're getting very outdated. We need fencing, we need lighting would be very nice, and dugouts, and then the infield needs to be reworked on both the varsity and the JV field. And it's not like we would throw the old fencing out, because Jim Carroll approached me last week and was wondering if we could get the fencing over at the middle school to put some fences up on some of the fields that are in the back there, which would work nice. And I know for a fact that would be good, because over there, that's where I would normally practice, and the fields are not the best to practice on over there. So we really need to look at what we're offering our kids in the form of the athletic experience. And it's just, it just needs a little TLC. So anyways, I'm just asking that you support these referendums.
Thank you.
I'll just talk briefly, because, these are all no-brainers, but this really is too. We have to be, and we've done it in recent years, is looking at our compensation packages to our staff. And, we made major changes as a district to how we compensate our staff. But going forward, we need to be in a position to have the resources to continue to offer competitive salaries and packages to attract teachers and keep the teachers that we have. And we also have to have the resources to support our staff. So it's one thing to talk like that, but we really do need the resources so we can take action on that and to stay on top of our competitive compensation models.
Thank you, Brian. And there's each one of us has brought these ideas along with administration, the thoughts to the table, and really, representing those individuals that stood up and voted for us and chose us to be in the school board. And this resolution is a means for us to say that this is going to be at the top of our list, and that we need to evaluate additional funding strategies. And as Terry alluded, there will be a survey going out here in the next week, and next week or a little after. We will be having a informational meeting. The survey will be due on November 25th. We'll be having, and it can be done, there'll be paper copies mailed to all of the stakeholders within our district. It can either be completed by paper or completed online. We'll be hosting an informational meeting on November 21st at the Humke Elementary School Library. And on the survey itself, the survey is going to give us information on where people rank, their priorities within our district. I would like to say that with the work that Lynn has done in administration, we're at an ideal point to move forward, and I think a lot of people are going to be quite surprised at the numbers that are out there. But with that in mind, I'd like to read this resolution, and we actually, as a board, have a copy here that we're going to be signing. Where'd it my copy. Here we go. Be it resolved, the school board of the Nekoosa School District recognizes the need for additional funding for the following: staffing, equipment upgrades, capital expenditures for track and field upgrade, replacement, and other improvements for athletic facilities. Revenue limits as set by the state of Wisconsin do not provide the necessary funds to address these shortcomings. Instructional needs at this time within our district, at a minimum, include the addition of the following positions: virtual instructor, district social worker, K-5 math interventionist, elementary school behavioral interventionist, technical education instructor, and family and consumer science instructor. Capital improvement projects at a minimum are identified as replacement upgrade of the track and field facility, as at this time it is unusable, the softball improvements. In addition, we have much needed equipment upgrades in our technical education department to support current and future technical education programming. Therefore, the Nekoosa School Board, as elected by the stakeholders of this district, is stating that we must investigate and implement funding options to allow the district to provide for the instructional needs as described above in accordance with our strategic plan, as well as providing for adequate resources for students' extracurricular activities. We have a lot of work in front of us, and we'll be looking towards our community for guidance and support in that area. So I would like to thank everybody for the time they've put in on this, and you know, Terry and Lynn and administrators here, the work that you've done on this. So we have a challenge ahead of us. I think this will be a defining moment in our time here. We're passing around that resolution. I'm going to keep it brief for Brian at this time. I request a motion that the sum of $11,114,630 be levied and assessed against all taxable property of the school district of Nekoosa to pay the expenses of the school district for the 2019-2020 school year, and that said amount be placed in the general fund, debt service fund, and community service fund as budgeted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The current school board monthly salary is $200 per month. Do I have a motion in regard to the salary for the 2019-20 school year? Motion on the floor for the monthly salary of $200 per month for school board members.
So moved.
We have a first.
A second to just remain the same.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Transportation. I ask for a motion that transportation students be left to the discretion of the school board for the 2019-2020 school year.
So moved.
Second.
First and seconded by Cody or Brian. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Depository for school funds and hiring a school auditor. May I have a motion that the depository for school funds and hiring of a school auditor be left to the discretion of the school board?
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Authorize the school board to borrow funds. I request a motion that the school board be authorized to borrow funds, if necessary, for the operation of the 2019-2020 school year.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Authorize the sale of tangible school district property. I request a motion to approve the selling of tangible school district property to the discretion of the school board.
That's a move. Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. May I have a motion, this is in regards to the 2020-2021 annual meeting date. May I have a motion to leave the date for the 2020-21 annual meeting to the discretion of the school board?
That's a move. Second.
First and a second, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. New business, is there any new business? No new business. At this time, I request a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, you're quick.
Well,
I'll second. Not that we're
I
racing
saw
or
you were
anything.
getting itchy there.
he was ready to, he was like,
Brian, I think, is calling.
I request a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
It probably is green, I don't know.
I like his little picture on there. He's like,
He's doing his.
he's doing that.
Okay, I would like to thank everybody for being here this evening. I'd like to call the regularly scheduled board meeting for October to order. Roll call, please.
Brian Geezy,
Present.
Cody Brubelski,
Present.
David Schmidt,
Present.
Brian Mahan, and I am present.
For those who are able, stand and pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have a virtue card reading, Mr. Rashevsky.
Determination. You focus your energy and efforts on a task and stick with it until it is finished. Determination is using your willpower to do something when it isn't easy. You are determined to meet your goals even when it is hard or you are being tested. With determination, we make our dreams come true. You are practicing determination when you believe what you are doing is important, set goals for yourself, stay focused without being distracted, keep going if it gets difficult, ask for help when you need it, finish what you start. Affirmation. I am determined. I set goals and keep going until I achieve them. I get things done. I stay focused on my purpose. Determination.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. The guidelines for the school board. With an open mind, we will establish an atmosphere that allows expression of all views, even when views are not in line with all members. We will work collaboratively with the district administrator by having open and honest conversations around district priorities. We will work collaboratively with all stakeholders to monitor key indicators so that equitable teaching and learning results in high achievement. We will work toward building a trusting environment where both students and staff can reach their full potential and celebrate successes in academics, the arts, and athletics. At this time, I'd welcome any public comments. No public comment? Okay, we're gonna move on to our CWSA update. Do we have an update this evening?
Amy Fluno.
Miss Amy Fluno?
Yeah.
Very good. You're on, my dear.
All right,
It's
thank
your
you.
turn. Thank you.
I just want to apologize that we haven't been here for a while. We've kind of gotten out of sync with our meetings and with what's going on here too, so I apologize for that.
I'll apologize for not being at your meeting.
Last night, yeah, we had one yesterday. So we kind of discussed at our meeting, just a quick little thing too. So this is my last and final year on the governance council, no matter who twists my arm. I've been on it for 6 years. Emma's been removed for 3, so I'm kind of not losing my passion, but it's needs to change. So we're gonna work on recruiting a little bit more at the next showcase. So inviting, that is during the AMS open house too. So we're kind of hoping to kind of work with some parents. And we have all new sixth graders, obviously. So we have a whole fresh set of parents to talk to and to hopefully convince that this is a great thing to do and a great way to get involved in your kids' education, a little bit more hands-on. So that is, what do we say, November 7th, thank you. So we're gonna try to either have a council table outside the classrooms, maybe some kind of short presentation before they start looking at the projects, just to get a little bit more help on the council. So that's that. So we have new sixth graders, obviously, that have started this year. So that is a little bit of a challenge for the teachers, just because last year everyone knew kind of what to expect and what was going on. This year they're throwing some new students in there. So they're still trying to get their groove down on the whole thing, which is, it's going all right. We're getting some new students supposedly the end of the month, so we're at 21 right now. So we should have a couple more by the end of the month. That's what we were told at our meeting yesterday, so hopefully that is true, which would be great. So then we'd be up to about 23, 24 students, which would be a really good target for us for numbers. So that would be nice. Another thing that they wanted me to mention is that they've started working with some new coding products. So they're using Scratch coding. No idea what that means, but it's a new program that they're using and they really like it. I don't know anything about it, but they also have replaced Project Lead the Way, which was no longer working well for them, and they are using a new program called Engineering is Everywhere. Better program, cheaper, easier for the teachers to get their plans and all that stuff off of it. I believe Rapids District uses it, so they have a little bit of a, they can talk to other teachers in the Rapids School District about it if they have questions. But it just seems to be an easier program to use than Project Lead the Way, which was a little bit more difficult all the way around. So those are some of the updates that I have. I think that's what I needed to say. Oh, and we kind of talked a little bit too more about like the referendum talk too. We'd just be interested to be on top of it and really know what's going out to the public as the council. So,
Sure.
yeah.
And the transparency is what we're seeking. And
Yes.
I would like to, first of all, thank you for your service on the CWSA Governance Council, and we do get to work with you for the next year, right?
You would?
We get to work with you for the next year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, until May.
And I want to congratulate you on your daughter's induction into the National Honor Society.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's something that's always nice to see
Yes.
parents up there and those
Yeah.
students that have worked so hard.
Been a goal of hers for a long time.
And a lot of those students up there went through CWSA.
Yes, they did. There was a handful of them that did, which I think really says something about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point.
So thank you very much
Yep,
for your time.
thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Do we have a Weiss Academy update?
No, we do not.
Very good. Overarching results. Overarching results is something we review on a monthly basis, and we have some new people in every month, and
It's
we're
the
really
high school's
excited
turn.
about it. It's the high school's turn, and I'm gonna turn it over to Barry for an introduction.
Well, actually, I'm gonna turn it over to Keith, let him
Okay.
tell us what he's
So,
got for us
so we
tonight.
have kind of a two-pronged
Yes.
presentation tonight. So first, Susan Baldwin, who is our new associate principal, and I think most of you have met her, but maybe not in this role as AP at the high school, is going to talk about the cell phone policy and what we're seeing to this point. And then Mike Shainfeld, who is one of our science teachers at the high school and has a couple of new courses where he's utilizing the property quite extensively. We'll be talking about place-based learning along with Sarah Winju, who is from the Wisconsin Center for Environmental Education at UWSP, we're collaborating with the Center for Environmental Education on place-based learning, professional development throughout the district, at all three buildings, but has worked extensively with Mike. So I guess we'll start with Susan talking a little bit about the cell phone policy.
Sure. So I have, if you are a visual person, I made copies kind of where we're at with the cell phone policy, and all this is our cell phone policy and then our procedure protocol for staff to follow. So it's kind of student expectations in the classroom and then staff expectations if they have to take a phone from a student if it's a distraction. So the chart that you're getting on that cover page is so far in September. Well, in the upper corner, as of October 16th, so this was last week, Thursday, I think, I looked at the data. We had 50 students total in the month of September that had a first violation and a second violation. There were 14 students. First violation is they turn their phone into the office, get it back at the end of the day. Second violation is they turn it into the office for 5 days straight, each day, morning, and then they get it at the end of the day. That's a total of 16% in September, and then for the first violation, and then 4% for the second violation. So then in October, halfway through the month of October, we've had 23 additional students on their first violation, for a total of 73 students in September and October, which is 23%. First violation. And then second violation, between the months of September and October, a total of 18 students, so 6%. And then only 1% on their third violation. Third violation is they turn into the office for 15 days straight. For both the second and the third violation, they also lose their Pride Pass, so they can't leave for study halls or lunch. And so that's kind of the overarching update there where we're at.
Do they lose their Pride Pass for 5 days and then 15 days? Or, okay.
Yep, along with their phone, yep.
And, and certainly what we're receiving back in terms of from teachers is that the learning environment is much improved. And, and student-wise, Eleanor, you're here to speak for all the students. That, certainly, many students are, the overwhelming majority of students are very understanding of the reason behind why. In fact, we had one student one former student who graduated, who came back to do some observation time earlier, and so he had never been in the classroom with this policy, obviously, and he said, wow, this would have been really hard on me, but I sure wish it had been here, because now I'm struggling in class with finding myself meaningless, just kind of flipping through Facebook for no purpose, no reason. So, but I don't know if you have anything you want to add, or?
What are other students saying, Eleanor?
I
Aren't you
don't
hearing
really
a
hear
whole
much
lot?
about it. Not really.
Are the students, in your experience within the class, are they adjusting well to it, you think?
I think so.
They're just like, okay, this is the way it is,
Yeah.
kind of thing?
I think it's helped. We've really, staff across the board has really tried to emphasize the reason why it's important, and it really is to engage them in their learning so that they can, you don't know what you're missing. If you disengage for a couple minutes to check a notification, that turns into more and more minutes. And it's just easy to lose track of time that way. So because we've been up front and we've had reminders, I think that's really helped students with, of course there's a few students who have a problem with it, but for the most part they understand where we're coming from and they know what we're trying to do. So, they might not like it, but they're okay with it. They understand it.
Yeah, and it wasn't like we blindsided anybody with this policy. I mean, we had gone through a lengthy process to get here, and so everyone coming into the school year knew what the policy was going to be, had had an opportunity to give their input on the policy, and so.
Could I just add one thing? We just finished up a round of surveys with our staff around culture. And this month, the overarching, or these 3 months, the overarching theme is rigor, high expectations, learning options for all kids. So in the culture survey at the high school, I noted some comments from teachers about how the rigor and the attention to coursework has improved since the cell phone policy. So that's a great celebration. Good.
Thank you for your work on that. I think it's a good thing. Very much. And everybody's work. It was a big team.
And you even got to meet Susan.
And we got to meet Susan. We wish you good luck up there.
Thank you.
Congratulations, number one, on getting there.
Thank you.
And Good luck throughout this year, you're gonna need it.
She's doing a great job.
They're really good team.
She's already got good practice.
Let's
She's
just
already
scare
got
her
some
off
good
right away,
practice.
Brian, good job.
Yeah.
She's, it keeps giving her
She's
great
doing a
practice
great
right
job.
off the bat.
Thank
And-
you very much.
And then next, so Mr. Shanefield and Ms. Winju will talk about place-based learning and then specifically what we're doing at the high school in regards to place-based, and Mr. Shanefield specifically some of what he's doing, so.
Well, thank you for having me here and for inviting me here. My name's Sarah Winju. I'm with the Wisconsin Center for Environmental Education. We're an outreach center within the College of Natural Resources at UW-Stevens Point. The Center for Environmental Education, if you're not familiar with it, we've been around for about going on 30 years next year. We have a couple different programs within the center. One of them is the LEAF program, the Forestry Education Program, and one of them is KEEP, the K-12 Energy Education Program. And we also are a key partner with the Wisconsin Green and Healthy Schools Program, which is a statewide program in partnership with DPI and DNR. So we are launching our place-based education initiative in partnership with Nekoosa, and we're really excited about this because historically, so over the last 30 years, we've provided mostly professional development resources to advance natural, sustainable communities, human and natural communities across Wisconsin, but we've done it more with individual teachers or groups of teachers in districts across the state. But we really know and understand how important it is to do it at a community level, really to engage everyone in the school district as well as the community to really make change happen, not just one person or a couple people, because we know that's really difficult to do when you don't have a team supporting you to really make change. So we're really excited about this opportunity. Place-based learning research shows that schools that use the environment or their place as a context for learning report higher grade levels and standardized test scores in reading, writing, math, science, and social studies, so across different disciplines. And it's that opportunity for students to really engage in their community and their place to make their learning relevant. So instead of learning measurement or graphing in their classroom, really going outside, utilizing their space, utilizing their community to engage in learning these important concepts, but in meaningful ways and really making connections. Likewise, learning important science concepts instead of learning them from a textbook or from videos, using maybe your school building, your classroom, your community to learn these important science concepts and really having those concrete, tangible experiences. So working with Keith last year, we identified a few goals that we're looking forward to continuing to work on over the next 2 years or so. We know this takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. Some teachers are using their place, their environment amazingly well, but we really want to make sure that we integrate it across the curriculum so that it isn't just something that happens down the hallway in Mr. Shanefeld's class, that this is really incorporated and embraced as a district. So some of the goals we identified were increasing environmental literacy and sustainability of the school and community by featuring the environmental literacy and sustainability standards that were adopted about a year and a half ago by DPI. So these are the standards that we will be focusing on really making a focused attempt to connect with those in the curriculum. Increasing civic engagement with students, enhancing the value of the community or what people, including students, think of their community, and how to enhance the community support. And then increase understanding of career opportunities that are available in the local community. We are administering a baseline study, a survey for those who we're interacting with, and we'll be continuing to do that just to get some data so that we can, in a few years, measure that change. A few of the things I just wanted to note, this is a really low number so far that have participated in the survey. But how often do you consult the environmental literacy and sustainability standards when developing lessons? 25% sometimes, 67% never. So we want to make sure that this becomes a tool to help engage students into learning with their environment more. I use my community as a tool in my teaching. 40% sometimes, 30% never. My students practice civic engagement through volunteering and community service. 64% a little and 18% not at all. And then my students feel like they and their actions make a difference. 72.5% a few. So we're hoping that some of those numbers will increase with our efforts over the next few years. So far, we've held 2 professional development workshops this past summer with this core group of teachers. One of them focused on utilizing these standards, and another focused on using the outdoor space, the school grounds, the school forest, in their classes. I was able to attend the Business Education Alliance meeting last spring and hope to continue to attend and engage in that group more. Met with the elementary school planning team a couple weeks ago, and we'll be providing them this week. I'll send it tomorrow. A short list of easy things to do with students outside. So that was just, how do I get out, what do I do outside if I'm going outside? Not in-depth lessons, just those easy things that take little to no prep, just to get students to really engage in just their immediate outdoor spaces a little bit more. But amazing things are already happening in the district. And we want to really highlight those as well, and showcase them throughout the state. One of our staff is part of the School Forest Advisory Committee and will continue to work with that group. We have registered the high school as a green and healthy school this summer. And also one of the elementary teachers started the process to register the elementary school as a green and healthy school as well. So we hope to really continue to work on that, to just document everything that's already happening, because there's so much happening. Document it and then celebrate it and talk about it, so people know all the cool things that are already happening and that will continue to happen. And then one of the things that we are trying is we are providing these reflection journals for teachers, so that as they try new things, they take their students outside, they try to incorporate more of the place. They can reflect on, how did that go? What would I do differently next time? And then also connect it to those 4 goals that I already shared, and how is this activity or this experience connecting my students to the community more. So we're hoping to revisit those and continue to build off our learning over the next couple of years.
Okay, so I've been trying to utilize the school forest as much as possible and utilize our place, I guess, and around our community. And I think I have it easier than most teachers because I have new classes that kind of are built around going outside. But we do have a couple new classes. We have a fisheries, forestry, and wildlife course. That's a dual credit through Mid-State, which is pretty neat. And then we also have more kids now enrolled in environmental science. And so between both those classes, I've been able to get outdoors a lot and really utilize our facility here, which is probably one of the best facilities on the school campus that I think I've ever seen in a district. And so it's really nice now you have to, we can be outside from my room out to the school forest in 5 minutes, and that's with taking attendance. And some of the things that we've done, like, are simple things, just like going out and doing plant and tree identification, looking at different types of adaptations that the plants have had, and we can kind of relate that to their habitat and why they have those adaptations and how they help enable survival for those species. We have our fisheries, forestry, and wildlife course. We've been looking at doing a lot of orienteering, so compass work, pacing, and tomorrow we're actually going to go out and do some soil profiling in different habitats, so we can kind of compare and contrast different soil types through there. Excuse me, I've got a cold too, so it's and so ultimately, in that class is going to lead to a large timber cruise where we're going to go out and look at forest management and assess the value of a plot of land that they'll kind of take on as their own and utilize that through the year. And then, of course, our favorite is the body farm, where we look at the decomposition rates of pig legs out there in our forensic science course, which is kind of neat and kind of gross at the same time. But you know, we look at the different stages of decomposition, and so we could you know, try to identify how long a body's been out there, if there were to be. And we also look at the entomology. You look at the insects that are in there and try to identify those as well. And so, I think. You know, there's other things that we hope to do, like utilize more resources within the community, like Domtar and ERCO, and you know, by collaborating with those companies, you know, it gives the students more opportunity, you know, a sense of community. It also gives them more ideas as far as maybe career choices in the future, things like that. And hopefully then, you know, when they go off to school, they may come back to our community and stay here. So it's kind of. Yeah, I think I'm also going to be working with Julie Shutter in the spring for our horticulture class. So I'm excited about that. And we also have a new machine in our room. So if you're in the high school, you should come and check this out. It's really cool. It's called the Green Machine. It's a large hydroponic growing system that we were able to get through a grant through Wood County. So it grows up to 288 plants. It's about 5.5 feet tall and about 4 feet wide. So we just built it. We got it last week, and I had a couple students build it for me. And we'll start utilizing that here hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
So the nutrition program benefit from some of the lettuce or something from there? Or?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there are some guidelines to using it, and so hopefully we can collaborate with some other, you know, some other content areas. I know hopefully we can work with the school lunch program too and implement some of these, you know, fresh organic vegetables within that. Mm-hmm. And it gives us, you know, part of the thing the kids have to learn, you know, safe food handling through it. They have to track the pounds and the type of produce grown and submit, you know, some data on that when we harvest it. So I think it's going to be a really cool aspect to have in the room. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
And just being part of the College of Natural Resources and the university as a whole, we have a lot of different student groups and faculty who want to connect more with surrounding communities. And so, you know, we have a water lab and wildlife biologists and waste composting experts on campus. So we have a lot of opportunity to connect and make some good connections and build some relationships. So that students from UWSP can come in possibly and work alongside Nekoosa students to show like, oh, this is what I could be doing. This is really cool. And that there are jobs in these areas that are right here local that they may never have ever been exposed to.
And I'm going to throw in here too. Part of environmental science is last year Susan and I collaborated on a big unit. A big plan of action that the kids come up with an idea, something that they could change in a positive to, you know, affect the environment positively. So through that, you know, kids come up with these ideas of composting, trying to reduce the amount of plastic that we use and plastic waste and things like that. You know, ideas to recycle and stuff like that.
Like
so
here in the school, just
yeah,
not
that
like
we can implement
in the
right
world,
here.
but like here it's It's cool.
And so they come up with the ideas. We haven't yet implemented those, but we could easily do that and you know, have the kids implement those in the school district. So it's fun.
We have a question.
Any thought to knocking on the door of Sand Valley? They've got a 7,000 acre conservancy over there that may be of value.
Yeah, we've talked about that. And, yeah, I would love to go and take my class out there and yeah, that'd be really neat. I've yet to see that too, and so I'd love to get out there and you know, and we have another, you know, piece of property in Rome that I'd like to go out and look at, especially after we've had those timber cut out of there. It'd be, you know, neat for the kids to come see the you know, succession, how it's coming and growing back and everything. So yeah, we have a lot of opportunities here.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's great to hear about your partnership. We've got some testimony in the back there. What class are you in?
I'm an intro to fisheries.
Well, tell us something about it.
A lot different than any other science class. Just a lot of outdoor activities. We've never really been exposed to so much. So It's fun.
You're learning a lot?
Yeah.
I'm kind of quite envious because we never had anything like this when I was in school.
Yeah,
You'd be
it's
lucky
been-
if you'd
it's-
be lucky if you got to go on a nature walk one day out of the year, you know.
Was it when I was in there last week, the kids were like, can you just help us get a field trip to that Rome forest? And I was like, well, sure, but
There you go.
I'm not sure that they'd asked him yet, so.
It's
Yeah,
been a
they're
rough
really
fall
excited
with the
about it.
rain this year
Yeah.
too. It's been
Yeah,
hard, you know. We'd like to get out. I've been
Yeah.
waiting all week to get outside and do some soil profiling, and so hopefully tomorrow will be the
It's gonna
day
be
we
cold
get out there.
tomorrow.
Yeah. But I mean,
But dry.
yeah. Most of these kids hunt and fish all year, so they're used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being there, guys. Well, Miss Lee here.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Congratulations on a great homecoming.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you did a lot of work, and is your hair still colored or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great job on it, though.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of work and our council pulled it off with not a lot of time. So we made notes for what not to do, what to do. The penny war that we had was successful, but it was just forgotten about until the last minute. So we had to throw it together quickly, but it was still successful, and we got food to the Backpack for Kids program, so that was good too. And then now it's on to the next thing. So my view going into October was to continue thinking about every month what could we do. And October is Bullying Awareness Month, and so we threw around a couple ideas, but what we really landed on was making sure that every student felt like wanted in a way. So this Friday, our entire school will be doing an activity where they pick a name from their advisory, from their homeroom, and they write about this person that they pick. And they write 2 notes, and one goes to the student, and the other one is going to be put on a school chain, and we're going to put it in the commons area of the high school. So there will be about 400 different chain links in our high school, just of kind things about every student. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited for Friday. And then the other thing this weekend is FBLA and Link Crew and National Honor Society and Student Council are doing haunted hallways on Saturday. So yeah.
Did you get enough candy?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. So last year I know that the teachers had to make 3 different runs to Dollar General and to the pig. So any candy is really appreciated, but I think we're expecting around 500 kids is what I heard. So yeah.
So donations or candy are needed?
Yes.
Okay.
Donations were very much needed, but
Thank you.
Okay. So Saturday, on hallways. Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time here tonight, and very much look forward to next month. So I look forward to hearing about that chain. We should get some pictures of that.
oh, there will be pictures of that.
That'd be neat. That'd be really neat. Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, PI 26, Education for Employment.
Oh, wait, we gotta,
Oh.
Mr.
Oh,
Miller.
I forgot a couple people. Brian.
He'd be upset.
with how many things we have on the agenda this week, so I am going to go to next month, so.
All right.
We appreciate that. No problem. I saw the agenda, I'm like, I will talk next month to
Just
you
for
guys.
that, I'm gonna make something up to talk about.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah,
See?
we better have the floor.
So, so PI 26, Education for Employment, this is related to academic and career plans. I would like to, have approval of the PI 26 plan that you have in the board packet, but what I would like to do is come back at a later date to report more fully on academic and career plans, and where we're at with what we're doing, where we're at with advisory committees and different things that way. So not, we don't have significant changes in the PI 26 plan. It is a state requirement that it be approved by the board annually. So that's where it's at.
Look forward to hearing about that. Motion on the, call for a motion to approve PI 26, Education for Employment.
I'll push that motion.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Start College Now applications, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, so we had Start College Now applications that came up last month, but we did have a few that had slipped by us that I'm just asking for approval on, even though the October 1st date has clearly passed. I would still just ask, most of these are related to CNA, to the Certified Nursing Assistant program that we have through Humke, or through Humke, but has some quirks to it that we're just getting ironed out. So.
Very good. I'd call for a motion for the Start College Now applications.
I'll push that one too.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Spring.
I'm going to provide a handout right now for the summer school report. I'm just going to let you take a look at that. In fact, I just counted, I didn't know how many to make, but if you ladies, oh, you know what? Amy left, everybody has a copy. Very good. So I'll let that come around right now. And I'm going to highlight the things that are in the packet here right now, but feel free to go ahead and look at it. And the purpose of this is really just to share some information about the summer school experience that we had last year. I also want to acknowledge Lynn for helping me find a few numbers that I needed and just kind of pulling this together. Just to summarize the print at the top of the page, we, for the second year had, I'm forgetting, for the third year we were at Humke Elementary, Humke Elementary for the second year. Right now we've had summer school, so we're still into the new routine, and I think it's pretty much well established. One of the things that we did new this year was also create a partnership with the city and expand more just your one-stop shop for summer experiences with the city, so all that information was going out together. Other things that on the front page right there, you can see the 3 years and how we're trending, about what courses we've been the number of courses we've been offering, and how well they stuck in when we did the initial application, and that's the purpose of that stuff on the first page. On the second page, you can see the summer school faculty and course location. And the purpose of that is just, really, this is just what I like to see what's trending, and you can see the bulk of our teachers are Humke teachers, with a smattering of them coming from the high school, but a lot of them also individuals who we contract through, and that would be the YMCA, and or people who are working from other districts who come into our district to help make our summer school work. And that's the summary of that up there at the top there, and where we've been trending on that. I also want to acknowledge the student participation at the bottom of page 2, and Lynn also helped dig up some old numbers right there. You can see going across there how many kids have been participating in it over and where we're at right now. And she helped also dig up some old numbers related to this number of students who are participating who are non-resident. You can see those numbers stacked. And one of the things that I observed too is the number of students who are coming outside our district into our district to experience summer school, and that's an observation I had there. On page 3, that's just a breakdown of the courses and who's in them and what's trending at each grade level. I like looking at that personally, as an elementary school principal, and seeing what where we're at in staffing levels. And then also I added this year, 'cause I hadn't done it prior, but just courses at secondary level and what's trending right there in terms of population and who's really bringing in the kids. And that peels over onto page 4. And then page 4, you can see expenses revenue over the last 4 years right now, and then compared to this year right now, you can see that we ran it at a deficit of $23,000 approximately. So with that, it's information, and I welcome you to ask any questions or make any statements.
A lot of information, and the historical data is helpful, indeed it is. No shortfalls go to the community fund. The shortfalls are covered by the community fund.
No, it's covered by the district.
District.
Do any districts make money on summer school?
Sometimes when you don't have transportation, but then the numbers go down, so in my experience, not many.
We essentially do it because it's a service to the community, not.
Right.
Right.
And I know I'd like to recognize all those individuals that put that
Yes.
time forward in the summertime, the teachers, the staff, the pre-K, you know, the evaluations, that's a great deal, a great body of work, and one that is so valuable for that introduction, you know, good continuity for many students, that safety, that safe zone.
And good lunches for all those kids at home too for free.
That's true. That's something I didn't
Lot of
mention in there,
lunches
but
are-
kids essentially come to summer school, you get lunch for free.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Frank. Any questions, guys? Okay, third Friday count in September, Ms. Grant.
So, per DPI regulations, districts are required to have 2 counts a year. The first one is the third Friday in September, and that's used for the state aid formula and also for the revenue limit worksheet. And then the second Friday in January is our second count, and that's used for the state aid formula as well. The third Friday is probably the most important. So it consists of, there's a lot of steps in regards to doing a membership count. You start out with a head count, which means it's kids in seats. And then you look at all the transfer ins, those are non-resident students coming into our district. And you look at the transfer outs, that means our resident students that are leaving our district. And then you basically end up with the FTEs, so how many students you are able to count and include on your revenue limit formula to create the revenue limit on what you are allowed to gain in revenue in property taxes and state aid. So it's all melded together. So we're gonna look at head count, transfer ins, transfer outs, and FTEs. Now this is at a district level. The blue is actually the current count, September. The red is the last January count, January of 2019. And the gray is the last September count. And when you look at our head count, and basically, yeah, our head count, it went up a little bit, by two students from last January. But when you look at the FTEs, we were down about 5. Well, how many is that? 5 students,
Yep.
thanks. Can't read it.
You're
So what I did is I broke it all down. So we're gonna go through, I'm not gonna go through every single graph, but I do want to look at the district levels. Can you go on to the next one?
Yep.
So this is the district level. This is brick and mortar students. So these do not include virtual students. So you look at 1092 in last year in September, 1105 in January of this year, and it drops down to 1068 in September of this year. So these are actually kids in our buildings. Now this number is typically used for staffing purposes. Okay? Now then I further broke it down by schools, but I'm not gonna go into that, you have it in your packet. Just keep going. And you can see it's AMS, all the way through. This is district head count virtual. And you can see, we did have a cap of 150 for this year, and we are at 148. That's an increase from 109 and 98 from previous years. And again, I broke this down by school, so you can review that data in your packet. This is the district transfer ins for brick and mortar. So because we increased the cap on our virtual, our transfer in population really exploded. We went from 100 to 113. That's brick and mortar. I'm sorry, that doesn't include virtual. I apologize. So that's just regular kids in seats. So that's awesome. Okay. And I broke it down by school. This is the district transfer in virtual, and you can see it goes from 78 to 120. That's because of the cap that we increased. So. And I also broke all that down by school as well.
It's a very interesting number on the brick and mortar. I think when I joined the school board, we had more students transferring out than transferring in.
Correct.
I believe last year or the year before was the first year that we had more kids transferring into the district than out. That is a huge statement. That's something that we gotta stand on that. To know that more students are coming into our district than leaving is a testament to the work that's being done through all the troubles and tribulations we've been through over the last 6 or 7 years. Something great has come of it, so I want to recognize that.
Now these are the district transfer outs, and I didn't break them down between brick and mortar and virtual because they're transferring out, so they're not really coming to our school district. The transfer outs increased a bit from January and from last September. And I also broke down all the transfer outs by school as well. This is the important number. This is our district FTE. We were at 1123 in January, and we dropped down to 1105. This is actually what we receive funding on from the state level. So we need to work on our FTEs. So I submitted my report to DPI, on time, so it's not gonna compromise our state aid, which is great. But I just, it's good data to have, and I'll do this again in January. If you like the format of this, it's a lot of data to look at and study, but I can certainly do that in January too. And I won't, go through it in depth or anything like that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. For those that may have just joined us, we had our annual meeting prior to our regular scheduled board meeting. At the annual meeting, we approved the tax levy. At this time, the board president, I would like to call for a motion to sum of $11,114,630 be levied and assessed against all taxable property of the school district of Nekoosa to pay the expenses of the school district for the 2019-2020 school year, and that said amount be placed in the general fund, debt service fund, and community service fund as budgeted.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Cody Bubilski.
Yes.
David Schmidt.
Yes.
I vote yes. Brian Mahan.
Yes.
Brian Geezy.
Yes.
Brian, could we also approve the 1920 budget as well, please? I know it's not on there.
Yep, I'm sorry. I'd like to call for a motion to approve the 2019-2020 budget as presented in our packets and as described in our annual meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Cody Bubilski.
Yes.
David Schmidt.
Yes.
I vote yes. Brian Mahan.
Yes.
Brian Geezy.
Yes. And just to note, in the annual meeting, for those who weren't able to view that, we had a discussion about some of those things that our district needs that we currently don't have funding for. The board had a formal resolution on investigating how we can fund those activities. There'll be a survey going out to all of our stakeholders in our district in the next week or so that are gonna ask about some of those things that we need for our future as a district. The survey will be sent, it'll be in a paper form, you can either fill it out in paper or fill it out online. It's gonna be due back on the 25th. We will be having an informational meeting on the 21st of November in the Humke Library. And these things that we have unmet needs based upon the funding that we have from the state and the revenues that we're allowed to have under the revenue limit worksheet. So that's just informational, and we encourage you to please look at that information carefully. It will guide our decisions as a board in the December, January time period when we have to really seriously look at what we're going to do as a district. So, thank you. Policy governance. Any questions so far, guys? We're good? Policy governance, OE10. Terry, would you read the guiding policy statement?
Absolutely. OE10, communicating with the public. The district administrator shall assure that the public is adequately informed about the condition and direction of the district. With that, the district administrator will assure the timely flow of information, appropriate input, and strategic two-way dialogue between the district and citizens that build understanding and support for district efforts. So would you like me to highlight a few of the areas?
Hit a couple big ones, and then we'll talk about.
So last Thursday we met and we talked about this policy. A couple of the highlights. The district continues to work on a communication plan, and what we've got tonight, we did the showcase, and that was around rigor, high-level expectations, and then what's happening in each of the buildings. You're going to see pictures of kids involved in rigorous, high expectations around the classroom and learning. So we've continued to really focus in on that and try to push out through newsletters, through Facebook, all of the things that are happening in the district around that level of commitment.
Sure.
Community newsletters, we've had some changes within the last year. The style of the community newsletter has gone out, and it's also gone out to all of our stakeholders. Building newsletters have been going out via Parent Square, which is what our parents are telling us they use that's their preferred way of getting communication, so we're delivering that through Parent Square. And last week we had a chance to look at the number of hits or number of views or number of people using Parent Square to view the newsletter. It was quite impressive. Our school web pages are improved. Diana's been working hard on a new upgrade that makes it user-friendly with phones. Diana, when is that's coming soon, right? For the next month?
This week.
Awesome. Thank you for your work on that. That's meant a lot. Parent satisfaction survey results. So every year we look at in the fall, or excuse me, the spring, we collect information from our parents. The buildings then work with their staff and really take a look at what parents are saying about the services we offer, and we try to be very responsive to that. And then we also have this strategic planning document that we handed out tonight. So this is brand new off the presses today, and we're going to get this out to our staff and stakeholders in the buildings. So communication, again, Brian, Lynn, and I, we were over and kind of kicked off the conversation around the possibility of a referendum. So Brian's going to be our expert on this topic and developing the strategy that we've come up with, where all of you are going to be going out, taking Lynn and I possibly, and hearing from our public around the possible referendum. So lots of things happening around communication. It goes back, Lynn and Diana are kind of our head communication people, and really trying to help steer the district in a good direction. So thank you, Lynn and Diana.
We did not note any weaknesses with regards to this policy. One of the strengths identified was the implementation and utilization of the Parent Square communication tool, and I think that's maybe the correct terminology.
Yep.
the data that was presented, it seems to be one that reaches people most effectively. And I've heard good things in our community and from our parents about that tool. And, you know, we've already found the communication plan in and of itself a strength. It's a plan document with specific timelines and specific strategies that have been implemented. But the most noted strength I had was that parent square utilization. Any other strengths?
Yeah, I put down the alert system that the school has for the text messaging and email. It's just good to keep our students safe and secure, and it's nice to know when those cancellations are happening or weather or anything else like that. So.
And I certainly appreciate getting them too. Thank you, Diana. With that in mind, I'd like to call for a motion to approve OE10 communication with the public as presented.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. BSR/4, delegation of authority to the district administrator. Terry, would you please read the...
I'd be happy to. The policy statement is, the means by which the board will direct the district administrator shall be through its written results and operational expectations policies. The district administrator will be allowed any reasonable interpretation of these policies. Bless you. Accordingly, the board will maintain results policies specifying defined results for specified recipients. In the same manner, the board will develop operational expectation policies which express the board's values about operational conditions and actions. Using any reasonable interpretation of board's results and operational expectation policies, the district administrator is authorized to develop administrative policies and practices, make all decisions and take all actions he or she deems appropriate to achieve the board's results policies. As with all policy, the board results and operational expectations policies are dynamic and subject to updating and change by the board.
Thank you, Terry. This is our 4th year of the implementation of policy governance for the guiding how we lead our district. And this document here, as far as how we delegate the authority to the administrator and then govern by policy and govern by operational expectations. It has led us to be more informed as a board than I ever have been in the previous 5 years before that. So everybody did receive this. There were no exceptions noted. Any comments with regards to this policy? Very good. I'd call for a motion to approve BSR/4, delegation of authority to district administrator as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda, donations. Mr. Cody Prabilski, would you mind reading those?
I don't have the paper copy, but
Right
I
there.
have yours. Thank you. All right, donations. Backpack for kids, $165 from Bethlehem Lutheran Church, and $25 from Sacred Heart Collections. So thank you for those donors.
Yep, those donations are so important to us. Thank you very much for those donations. At this time, I would call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Future meetings, agenda items. November 2nd, Saturday, I believe, 2019. We're going to be attending, the board members that are able to, the Legislative Advocacy Conference, 7:45 a.m. to 3:30 at the Holiday Inn in Stevens Point. This is an opportunity for us as board members to learn how to learn what guides us from the legislative aspect with regards to the fiduciary responsibilities we have as board members. November 21st, referendum sharing. This is going to be an informational meeting. It's going to be held at the library at Humke Elementary School. We encourage your participation in that. Board workshop next month will be the second Thursday, November 14th. The regular scheduled meeting would be November 19th, the third Tuesday of the month. And at this time, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are